Thank you for your patience, everyone.
You're welcome. Yes. All right, it's time. We have been waiting a whole hour to hear Leslie T. Arboleda.
Yes.
All right, and we are going to be learning about disruptions as doorways, embracing the path to expansion. Let's give her a big, huge welcome. Leslie!
Thank you for that. As Melissa said, my name is Leslie, and part of what I'm really here to do today is talk about the cycle of change and growth that is part of being a human being. Am I in the right place, Melissa?
You are.
Am I on the right page?
You
Yes.
are.
But before I get started with my beautiful, lovely slides that are not purple anymore, by show of hands, who expects, I think I turned it on, baby. I did it? Okay, yes, will you turn it on for me? This is my assistant. The eldest of the little Arboledas. By show of hands, who anticipates experiencing some kind of disruption in their life this year? Now keep your hands up if you feel fully prepared to navigate that disruption. All right, so that's in line with some of the statistics that I found. 76% of senior executives anticipate encountering some kind of disruption in their business, but only 60% of them feel prepared to actually deal with it. And 89% of business leaders consider resilience one of the most important strategic priorities in their businesses. And if you've heard me speak before, you know that I really appreciate understanding resiliency is about a lot of different parts of who we are and rooted in a lot of different things. So again, that's who I am. It's a couple of the hats I've been wearing. I myself have experienced many disruptions in my life over the years, some personal, some professional. And what I want to share with you today is that those disruptions are a potential opportunity. They can initiate us into exploring new strategies that ultimately put us in a place of alignment. Yes. So we're going to talk today about the cycle of change, the cycle of growth, and the 3 phases that it includes. We're also going to talk about 5 different steps you can take to navigate this cycle. So let's get started. This is the cycle of change. Disruption. It's when everything gets upside down and booty backwards, as my not cursing teenager would say. Liminality. Some people call it the void. It's that in-between space. And then expansion. It's where the growth happens. And then, because of the nature of the cycle, as soon as we've experienced expansion, what do you think happens? We experience another disruption. Exactly. So the first phase, the disruption phase. This is where old systems and old beliefs break down. Anyone? Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
We've experienced these disruptions, and sometimes it's unmet expectations. Sometimes it's accidents, unforeseen things showing up in our experience. And the nature of this cycle is that we could be experiencing different phases of this experience in different parts of our lives. Some places we might be experiencing disruption. Other places we might be experiencing other parts of the cycle. So my hope today is that you'll be able to take away from this conversation, first of all, permission to give yourself grace, because this is not something unique to a select few of us. Experiencing these cycles of disruption, liminality, and expansion are not an indication that we're doing life wrong or we're not in the right place with the right people or at the right time. They are a universal expression of being human. For entrepreneurs, this might look like declining sales, market shifts, or it could look like burnout Anyone here experienced burnout? Right. I know some of you have. I've heard it. In our personal lives, this could look like things like a sudden job loss, right? We find ourselves unemployed. We find ourselves unemployable. It could look like a health challenge. It could look like a relationship breakup. And what there is to learn about disruption is that it's a doorway. It's a stepping stone to that expansion. Without the disruption as the catalyst for change, we might not ever change. In front of you, on your table, or in front of you, I don't know if you guys have already dispersed your paperwork, you have some handouts. My hope is not to just stand up here and talk at you for 30 or 45 minutes, but to really make this an interactive and applicable experience for you. I'm a big fan of spending my time making an exchange that has value. So I hope that this conversation will not just potentially be enlightening, like I think Alice said, but also give you some tools to really go back out into the world after you're done here eating your tacos and making new friends, and figure out how to navigate these cycles, these phases of this cycle, with a bit more ease and a bit more power. So your handouts has an opportunity for you to really note where you might be experiencing some disruptions in your life. Where are things breaking down right now? Where are things shifting right now? And how can these changes potentially bring you a sense of stability? Because instability is sort of the nature of disruption. So I'm going to give you just a few minutes to make some notes, have some ahas, stare at me blankly if you don't want to do the worksheet, that's okay too. But I really want you to, if you're inclined, I invite you to think about, where is disruption happening in your life? And if it's too confronting to think about where it's showing up right now, today, maybe think about a historical time where you experienced some kind of disruption. Where have things broken down? Where have old beliefs no longer served you? Where did expectations go unmet? I have to tell you, my ego's loving that everyone's writing on their handouts. It's working. We have just a few more seconds to explore this part of disruption. I'm a big believer, you make the choice that works for you, so if something's come up and you want to keep writing, you go right ahead. But I want to make sure that we get through all of the content so that we have time for a little connection, conversation, and I think a few more minutes at the end of our meeting to do some more housekeeping things for BHS. Lovely. So the next phase in the cycle is liminality. That's just a big fancy word for the in-between phase of things. Lots of us work in the energetic field here. Some people call it the void. I like to think about the void or liminality is the place where all possibilities live. It's the place where every choice is born. And that in-between phase can feel really uncertain. Right? Anyone else think they need certainty in their lives all the time? Right? Maureen and I sit in a circle of women, and we talk about the value of understanding that certainty is what is. Right? It's not about attachment to what we think it should be. Right? We don't should on ourselves. But this part of the cycle really brings up that uncertainty. It's also the place where all of our potential lives. For entrepreneurs, liminality can look like finding yourself feeling stuck, or finding yourself questioning your direction. I don't know about any of you, but I'm halfway to 96, and I'm still not totally sure what I want to be when I grow up, right? And it's an opportunity to experiment with some new strategies. Try on some things that you've never done before. See if they work. Give yourself grace if they don't. In our personal lives, liminality can look like feeling like you're in a holding pattern. SSDD, anybody ever felt like they're doing the same stuff on a different day? Yeah. Navigating that uncertainty after a big change. So the big change happens. Even desired change brings some uncertainty. I know that the thing I was doing isn't the thing I want to be doing anymore, but I'm not really sure how to connect the bridge to the thing I do want to do, or the thing that does feel more certain. Or feeling unmoored, feeling untethered, because the thing that was happening isn't holding you back anymore, but the thing you're moving into hasn't shown up just yet.
Right?
I know, right?
The word is yet.
And liminality, yes, yet, you are absolutely right. It hasn't shown up yet. Yet is a great word for liminality. This place, while it feels uncertain, is also the part of the phase where we're planting seeds. It's where we're taking the time to till the soil, nurture the soil, choose the seed of the thing we want to grow, lovingly trust and cover it up and give it the dark that it needs to see if it takes roots. On your handout in front of you, you have an opportunity to explore liminality. And this is really a time to think about what are the possibilities that are hidden that you could uncover by embracing this in-between phase of things. So we'll take a minute or two. We're going to take a minute. Maybe. My pretty little timer. I was very proud of this timer, by the way. I'll share my secrets with you. But think about, again, maybe a time in your life right now, right? It's not disruption that you're experiencing. You've already experienced that. A lot of us just moved through a series of disruptions in the holidays, right? And we're not quite to the spring of life, so maybe we're just kind of intrinsically, seasonally experiencing this liminality. I myself am a bit of an elemental witch, and I love to think about the seasonal cycles that happen in our human experience, right? We as human beings have a spring, a summer, a fall, and a winter. We don't just experience that cyclically in the seasons of the collective, right? We experience those things in our lifetimes. We also experience those things, I do at least, every single day. So think about what are the things that you can really do while you're in this in-between phase. And then the next phase is expansion. Expansion is marked by the growth, the clarity. It's that alignment, that, this is it moment, right? It's those new beginnings. If you're familiar with so many different things, I don't even know which analogy I'm going to choose, right? We'll talk about the circle. The circle has a beginning and an ending because we put our pen down on the paper and draw it. But every ending creates the space for some new beginning. Every disruption creates the opportunity to experience this expansion. As entrepreneurs, this can look like rebranding. I don't know if any of you have experienced a rebranding as entrepreneurs. I definitely have. Part of it has to do with the fact that I'm hardwired as a manifesting generator, can't quite figure out what I want to do. Part of it is because I'm really experiencing this cycle of change as a business owner. It could look like breakthroughs, Could look like new partnerships, new opportunities you didn't even know were there for you. In our personal lives, expansion might appear as a new sense of purpose. That aha on a fundamental level. It might look like starting a new relationship, right? The disruption of a breakup creates the space for a new relationship to be born. It might be recreating a relationship with the same person in a new way. And it might look like finally achieving that long worked for goal. Expansion is the place where we get to show off our integration. It's often the place where we feel that success that is aligned for us. And as the nature of the cycle, as soon as we feel successful, we are better qualified to navigate that next disruption. We'll take just one more minute to think about, personalize, what opportunities, growth, or clarity is emerging from this process for you. What does success look like for you in this next phase? What version of you gets to move into the next inevitable disruption? Take about one more minute or a little bit less. And then I'm going to invite you to pair up. This is where you get to be courageously vulnerable if you're so inclined. I myself celebrate the courage and the vulnerability, so thank you for the woohoo, Ms. God. I appreciate it. This is an opportunity to own the power you bring to each phase of this cycle. We can feel powerless when we're experiencing disruptions. A lot of us bring stories to the experience of the disruption that don't feel very good. So I invite you to really bring it to the conversation for the next couple of minutes and share, as much as you're inclined to share, what's come up for you in this first part of the presentation about navigating the cycle of growth. How are you navigating change? And what could you do differently to feel more powerful the next time you move through this cycle? So almost every table has an even number of folks. You don't get to choose your partner, you get to choose what direction you turn. And we give about 2 minutes for each person to share. And you can share for the full 2 minutes, or you can go back and forth. If you're taking turns and you haven't switched, you're about halfway. Alright, we're gonna wrap up the partner exercise. And if you're not done sharing, make sure you connect with your partner so you can pick up where you left off. Alright, it's a low rumble. Can we get to a no rumble? Martin, I'm talking to you. Alright, how was that sharing with someone potentially you've never met before about the cycle of disruption? Yeah? Sometimes this is what we need to do. We need to just be seen in our phase of the cycle. We need to give ourselves the opportunity to know that we're not the only one dealing with this stuff. We're not the only one struggling. Maybe not with the disruption. A lot of times people think disruption is the hardest phase, but for a lot of us, it's the liminality that's the hard part.
Yeah.
And we talk about this cycle with 3 phases, but I don't mean to give the impression that they are equal parts of the process. Right? Sometimes we feel like we're in the disruption phase for years. Maybe it's not so much one big disruption as it is a series of disruptions. And we don't quite acknowledge each one as a potential stepping stone to that expansion because we keep getting hit with another one and another one and another one. If that experience is your experience, I invite you to boldly look at just the one. You'll have plenty of time to look at the others, but start to notice, how does that one disruption potentially take you into that liminality that is ultimately the gateway to the expansion? Disruptions typically feel concrete and real. Liminality feels like it can be boundaryless, almost. And then expansion, interestingly enough, feels like the smallest part of the cycle because, lo and behold, another disruption shows up. So it's not about the timeline. It's not about anyone else's observations of how we're navigating this cycle. The power sits in giving ourselves the grace to know with certainty expansion has happened and prepares me to better navigate the next inevitable disruption. So now I'd like to talk about 5 essential steps to navigate the cycle of growth. Those include staying present, practicing self-compassion, seeking support, maintaining perspective, and cultivating resilience. We're going to talk about all 5 of these in a bit more detail. I'm not going to give you a pretty little timer. The back of your handout has some space for you to take some notes. It has some questions that you might feel inclined to answer. If these inquiries aren't things that you want to take notes on and answer right now, they're great journal prompts. They're great reflections for meditation, contemplation. They're great conversation starters, especially in a line of community with like-minded folks who are a safe and supportive person to talk to. So step 1, staying present. These steps can work for all 3 parts of the cycle. Being present and being mindful in this moment can help you navigate all of it. Mindfulness is not just an awareness. I teach mindfulness to middle schoolers because, well, for lots of reasons, but mostly because I think the world will be a better place if middle schoolers acquire these skills before they become adults, right? And we talk about mindfulness as an awareness and an observation of the present moment without judgment. Those last 2 words, I think, are the most important part of mindfulness. Notice which phase you're in, and don't make it right or wrong. Don't make it good or bad. Just notice it. Practical tools for staying present are things like visualization, or one of my favorites, breath work. I'm a spiritual warrior for sure, but I'm also a science geek, so I can't not share with you that neurobiologically, when we breathe on purpose, we activate different parts of our central nervous system. Some of you probably know calming breath can calm your body, but you might not know every inhalation activates your body. It stimulates the part of your central nervous system that's about taking action. Exhaling stimulates the part of your nervous system that's about resting and relaxing. So if you're inclined for just 2 seconds, you can close your eyes and take a deep breath in to the count of 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold it for 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale to the count of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Does anybody feel a shift in their energy just right now? Oh, I love the knots of affirmation. Thank you. Part of why that works is because we've spent more time activating the part of our nervous system that can only respond with relaxing. Taking a simple breath not only makes you feel better when you're feeling stressed or uncertain or challenged, it actually creates a pause in the timeline. I have made 3 people in the world who are 9, 12, and 16, and of course the 16-year-old is my favorite since that's the one that's in the room. But they all bring me opportunities to confront my own frustrations. And sometimes taking a breath is all I need to do, maybe to feel better, but definitely to not say the thing I don't mean to say, to not create an impact in a relationship I don't want to have to correct. So staying present not only serves us, but it serves our relationships. Step 2, practicing self-compassion. Anyone in this room nicer to other people than they are to themselves? Yes. I have a friend who refers to it as the itty-bitty shitty committee. It's that negative self-talk that's pretty inherent to being a person who's lived longer than the ripe old age of 7 on this planet. And self-compassion is about developing a supportive inner voice. And it comes through practice. Even if you were raised by the most enlightened, supportive, compassionate, and caring sets of parents, you live in a world filled with people who might not show up that way. It's nearly impossible for us not to integrate those things outside of us unless we take control to create our inner experience. Practical ways to practice self-compassion are just that, replacing the negative self-talk with positive affirmations. The word affirmation simply means to affirm something. If we call ourselves failures, that is a negative affirmation that is feels every bit as real as if we tell ourselves, I am learning through this challenge. And it might take persistent practice to do it all by yourselves. Maybe you're one of those super duper self-disciplined people. I myself am not one of those people. I need other folks. I need some kind of external accountability to sometimes remember the need to tell myself the nice things about myself. Step 3, seek support. This is another really important part of being a human being. As human beings, we are not our best selves in isolation and insulated from others. Having said that, we can find ourselves in relationships that don't feel supportive. So building resilience through aligned community and connection is one of our greatest gifts to ourselves. Practically, this can look like making a list and identifying who is your support system. Is it mentors? Is it friends, peers? Is it a coach? Is it a hired consultant? Sometimes it's about just taking a moment to notice, where are the people that actually support you in life? And if you don't have them in your circle immediately, where might they be? Certainly, there's a bunch of people in this room right now who can meet those needs. Step 4 is about maintaining perspective. When we seek support from aligned community, they not only help us access encouragement, they help us with this next step in maintaining perspective. When the itty-bitty shitty committee is getting in my head and telling me I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not capable, I'm not worthy enough. That's when I reach out to people like Mythica and say, hey, I'm having a bad day. And she reminds me that I'm awesome. Because I am awesome. And you're awesome. And you're awesome. And you're awesome. But it can be hard to remember that sometimes. And when we can maintain perspective, we can navigate this cycle with a bit more ease and power. So it's about reframing the experience of the disruption, or reframing the experience of the in-between, the not knowing, the uncertainty. Or maybe it's about reframing how are we going to move through life with this new expanded version of ourselves. Journaling is a great practice for maintaining perspective. Not everyone in my family likes to journal like I do, but I'm not going to quit suggesting that they do it, right? The same reason I made this pretty little handout for you all in front of you, is because sometimes just putting pen to paper, again, not only neurobiologically serves us differently than thinking about things or talking about things, but also sometimes as soon as we start writing the things, that's not true. I wrote the thing down, and then I read the thing, and I went, oh, that thing is just not true. It can bring us back to the grounded reality that we are all meant to be healthy, joyful, and abundant. That is our birthright as human beings. And when we don't feel that, shifting our perspective can be the biggest gift. And step 5 is cultivate resilience. That looks like really understanding how to build the foundation to thrive, to move forward into that success that is the result of integrating all of the wisdom and the experience that we generate through the disruptions and the liminality. And some practical ways to cultivate this resilience look like things like gratitude journaling. I invite all of you, if you don't already, to take 5 minutes or less at the end of every day and write down 3 things you're grateful for. I know when I started integrating this practice into my own life, it didn't make the a-holes go away. It didn't make the frustrations go away. It sure did help me focus on what did make me feel good and the gifts and blessings that abound in my life. Sometimes something as simple as just making a list of 3 can be the difference between feeling resilient and ready to tackle the next new day with more power or not. So now we're going to take a few minutes, and I love that these tables are full. So we're going to group up by table and talk about how you can potentially apply some of these steps in your lives. Might be about sharing ways you already do it, because it's something that you do that you find effective. Likely, someone else at the table might also find effective. So no gatekeeping the secrets to happiness. And maybe noting, oh, she does something I do, and it's not unique to me because this is actually a tool that the whole world could be better from. Make sense? All right, so we're going to take a few minutes. If you need prompts, you can reflect on what phase in the cycle that you're in right now. Or you can think about what's breaking down and what opportunities might be presenting themselves, and be born from those breakdowns. Connect.
Would you like to join us? Oh, great.
Which one of these stand out to you? One of these stand out to you? All the way down, things like that.
Appreciate that.
Sure. Well, yeah. Well, actually, the thing that I wanted to share is that what's actually been the most valuable in terms of just continuing with everything. And that is, actually, ritual has been really important. Like when I first get out, just go on and get the newspaper, and go on and do the thing, and place it there, get to my whole space. I was reading and tidy up, and they're doing what I'm eating, and just that one little reading from the Bible and then the interpretation that this writer is giving to it. Just so critical about giving your my people that are hurt me, people that I have resentments to, and just every day I'm able to focus on that and see me. And then the brain really and then I turn it into a song. And I just sing it a couple of times when I'm really jamming. And then after that, I can probably sing it. It's just like I'm fine. It's like I'm back. It kind of does this reset. That's been really. How about you? What's that? Oh, wow. Oh, I love you. Please forgive. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll tell you, I shit things just singing in our body. Well, no, I mean, I come up with better too. And it's like nobody ever, so that's what's really, yeah. Oh, your written is all the visualization. Ritual and that. She made to breathing in about energizing or breathing out of it happens on a biological level. Yeah. How about you? What would you do?
I believe in all of the sound frequencies, all of these things really
Okay, hang on a second. I want to see. Sit over.
I think all of these things
Because I have
Well, I'm oh, tap in and out. I thought you were stuck. How long do you do it? I've seen like one of my girlfriends does this. She probably gets it.
I think one of the biggest things that our
Alright, I feel like we could keep talking all day because these conversations are pretty awesome, but I have to wrap up my time and I want to make sure that we finish with a pretty little bow on it. So would anyone care to share one word that has come up for them in any of this inquiry? Group inquiry or personal inquiry?
Relief.
Relief. That's a good one, Sally. I like that.
I'm relieved that there's something you can, it's named, what I just went through, there's a name for it.
Relief?
You don't feel so.
And
That's
it's,
the relief.
the relief is that there's a name for
There's
it.
something I just went through.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Feel relieved.
I love that.
And it's understood.
Deserving.
Deserving. Oh, that's another really good one. Thank you, Tanya.
Curiosity.
Curiosity. I like that one. I celebrate curiosity a lot. I ask a lot of questions. Yes, Jackie.
Interesting.
Interesting. I love that. That validates me as the presenter up here. I appreciate that.
I think that one of the things that comes to mind, you brought up gratitude, but I would say if we're just really disciplined about being grateful. In other words, it's not even an option. If we were to just simply decide that this is what we have to do, we have to focus on the part of our glass that's full rather than this. We don't have any options. Every day we just think about the things that we're grateful for. Anytime. Not just 3, it could be 100 things you can come up with in one day.
Discipline. I
Discipline,
like that. Discipline
gratitude.
in gratitude. That's wonderful. Yes, Tweet.
I didn't get to share because we were talking so much, but the last step on cultivating resilience for me this last year on all of the disruption in my life is cultivating contentment.
Contentment. That is a big part of resilience.
So contentment, even at the end of the day when you're so tired, you know, and it's like a mom holding a baby and then just like,
Yes.
you know, and so contentment is actually the bridge for the prebiotic to the probiotic, where then you appreciate whatever it is, and then you can cross that thankful bridge into the gratitude.
I love that. The prebiotic to the probiotic.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sure that we could all share more, and I would totally love to connect with every single one of you in this room. This is a personal invitation to all 50 of you. But I just want to share, this is your, in case you need one, this is your invitation to take action. So embrace the disruptions as opportunities for growth. Use the tools that we talked about today to navigate whatever phase you're in, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And if you're so inclined, you can definitely schedule a consultation and talk about what are some different ways to create alignment in your life that maybe you haven't talked about or thought about yet. And I see the crew standing over here, so no questions for you. Sorry. And I'll leave you with this final thought. Disruptions are not roadblocks. They're stepping stones to your next phase of expansion and something greater. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you very much for participating.
Thank you, Leslie. We're so grateful to have you on board. To have a marketing director, Leslie, it's pretty good.